welcome to Roads Uncharted Session 9. We're almost at the double digits. I'm very excited.
See,
And without further ado, let's get started. Jokul, Riala, and I suppose 8, although 8 you really don't sleep. The next morning, or rather what you assume to be the next morning, since the cabin is still quite dark, you hear a knock at the door. Knock, knock, knock. And you hear Sehar call through the door. Riala, Jokul, 8?
as the other two stir in their bed, I stand up from my stool and move over to the door and crack it open a bit. Good morning. Or
You say Sehar
hello.
standing there. Good morning. Would you like some breakfast before this morning's activities?
I turn and look at the other two still in bed and say, "It's Sahar. They'd like to know if we'd like breakfast. Would you two like to eat breakfast?"
Um, yeah, I think that would be wise.
I could eat.
I turn back to Sahar. It would seem that my two companions could eat. I will sit and I will watch you eat.
Again, 8 being creepy. Sweet, but creepy. Uh, Sahar nods. When you are ready, come downstairs. The breakfast will be at the table. And she turns and heads down the hallway towards the kitchen and dining area.
Thank you. I close the door and turn back to my companions. Good morning. You two were very talkative in your sleep last night.
Riala groans and kind of puts her face in her hands and is just like, oh, okay. Oh, where are we?
Yes, some troubling things were said, but I just hope that they were bad dreams.
I don't know how to respond to that as me.
Jokel's just kind of looking at 8, like with a cocked eyebrow, just like,
The fuck, bro?
yeah, just like, are you gonna tell us what we said, or are you just,
Or are you just going to hang it over our heads?
yeah?
Do we get to know what you heard?
Oh, well, there was an awful lot of complaining about something called the Kingsworn, but I think you probably have read too many books or marvelous tales. It sounded all very peculiar.
I would like to think that we would be a little bit
I mean,
more
it's not
tight
all going to be coherent, but it is believable to have you like say flat out sentences like, "Oh, Brandon's a prick" or something like that.
I was definitely just more concerned what direction that we were going to take that in. I was like, is it dark sad or did it get weird in here?
I mean, if nothing else, Briella and Jokel are gonna get strangely used to 8 watching them sleep and just feel like, stop it!
I feel like Riala at night like pulls the covers over her head and like buries herself into Jokel's side. It's just like this is not happening.
Just hides. Just hides.
Yeah.
You can't
8 doesn't see me. It's fine. If I'm under the covers, they can't see me.
you can't bury yourself. It's time for breakfast. Get up, get up. I move over to the side of the bed and I start pushing. It's time to get up.
Like swat. I'm getting up. I'm getting up. Just
Well, there's no need to get violent. Just get up and get out of bed.
just like, what?
Joko will just like throw a pillow at 8 and just like grumbly get up and start dressing.
Catching the
Riala
pillow.
like hides behind Jokul and like gets dressed. You watch me sleep, you're not gonna watch me get dressed, damn it.
That's fair. I've got the pillow in my face anyway, so you're good.
That was the intention behind throwing the pillow. Just be like, ha, distraction.
I have a sense of decency. I understand what changing means, sort of.
Okay.
Anyway, after this awkward morning, we're up.
So you head down the hall, and at the table is some more of the bread that you had last night for dinner, some goat milk, dates, and a sharp citrusy fruit called osam. Picture it like the texture of a peach, but the flavor of a pineapple.
Weird.
Sehar is at the table with her mother, and her father's nowhere to be seen. You can probably assume that he's off getting things ready for the wedding, as it was mentioned yesterday that he does work for the royal family. Um, so Sehar turns to you and says, "So we have ordered some clothing for you to wear to the ceremony today. But I think you would most likely prefer to have a wash. Would you like to wash before you change into your new clothes?"
That would be lovely. Do we owe you anything for the clothing?
She waves a hand, slightly dismissive. If that is something you wish to arrange, we can discuss it tomorrow. It is not appropriate to discuss kind gestures and their costs on such a day. And she has a very slight smile when she says that. Like, kind of scolding you, but also kind of trying to be funny about it in a really awkward fashion.
Riala will bow her head and apologize. Sorry.
It is all right. You are foreigners here.
I lean in. You are foreigners.
Bop 8 on the head.
There you go. Give him a brain duster.
That applies to you too.
Yes.
So breakfast ends, and Sahar leads you down the cavern, farther away from the marketplace and the main entrance, towards the very back. And when you look above, the hole that's in the ceiling is mostly starless, and it's still the darker blue of really early morning. You can see people are moving about in their homes. You can see lights on at the buildings above you, and you can smell fresh bread baking, and you can hear children complaining as they're roused from their sleep. Jokul and Riala, you notice that the farther you go, the stairways become fewer. But bridges are now spanning the cavern, leading to and from walkways that are high above you. And as you start to see the temple coming into view, you realize that its entrance is as ornate and grand as the entry to the cavern itself. But before you get too close, Sahar makes a very sharp right turn and leads you down an alleyway. And it isn't long before she leads you under a large archway to an open courtyard of blue and white marble tiles.
Ooh. Exquisite.
These tiles, arranged in a mosaic circular pattern, offset a small fountain in the corner. And you can see there are sconces on the wall, and the orange flames are giving off an eerie glow to the sandstone walls. She points to a large wooden doorway on the left, and she points to a large wooden doorway on the right. And she said, Jokul, the men go over there. Riala, the women, we go over here. If you go in, you will find everything that you need. And she goes and she heads into the right door.
Joko will nod and go, all right, just wander off in the direction he was pointed. Or, well, he'll say goodbye to Riala. Be like, be right back.
Yeah, Riala will give Jokel's hand a squeeze before taking off.
I watch everyone go, and I've got my finger up in like a just a moment gesture, and everyone's gone, and I'm just kind of left standing in the middle of the square, like I don't know where I'm supposed to go. So I just kind of stay standing there.
Okay.
Oh no.
Well, Riel and Joko, when you enter your door, you see that the room is quite wide, and there are 3 different levels. Each level has 4 wooden bathtubs on them, and underneath those bathtubs is a little cutaway into the stone floor. There are people standing in white robes, their faces obscured entirely by veils, standing at attention along the edges.
I would probably look to Sahar and just keep an eye on what she's doing. If there's anything that, like, if I acknowledge them or whatever she does, like, I'm kind of like, okay, I'm just gonna like
Okay.
follow her
You doing
lead.
a monkey see, monkey do? What? All right. So Sahar doesn't acknowledge the people in the robes. She walks to one of the nearer tubs, quickly disrobes, and hops into the water. And as soon as she does so, one of the people in the white robes comes over and starts stoking the area underneath her tub. And you can start to see that flames are now licking up ever so slightly at the very edges. And you can see that the water is starting to steam.
I'm assuming this is a bathhouse situation. So
Yes.
dude. Okay. Yeah. Then dude, I don't know if like God. These are awkward, like modern days. So I don't do share the bath thing. Is that what that, like a hot spring, or like is there another pool?
These are like individual wooden tubs. So back in traditional ancient times, I guess if you want to go that far, if you were in a wooden bathtub, oftentimes it wasn't deep enough to actually sink your whole body into. You actually were sitting in the tub. That's the kind of situation that this is in. It's
Okay, well I'll
yeah.
jump into one of the things, I guess. Just disrobe, but not clothed, obvious. I'm gonna stop talking. I'm rambling so
Look at it this
much.
way.
You're
Riala's
okay.
short enough that she'll fit in the bucket, no problem.
That's fair.
That's true.
Yes.
Bella's pretty short. She's 5'2". Jokel's gonna have fun though.
So Riala, when you sink in, the one of the other people dressed in the white robes comes over and stokes the bottom, and you can see as you're looking closer at the tub that it appears wood, but it's actually more of a ceramic. So it's a lot harder stuff. It's not natural wood, not anything that would immediately catch flame, considering there are flames below you heating the water. And you see that they start to pour in a thick, viscous liquid into the tub, and you can smell lavender as soon as it
That's
hits
nice.
the water. Now, Jokel, when you get in, it's a very similar setup for you, but there are other men that are already in a lot of the tubs. They're having conversations with themselves. You can see these darker skinned, hairy bodies peeking out from the large tubs, and a couple of them wave to you, but other than that, pay you no mind.
Jokel's just follow. I don't believe he followed Sardine, or no. No. Crap.
Sahar,
The horror. I'm like,
Yeah, no,
wait.
she went out on the women's side, so
I mixed up the names and I was just like, it started with an S.
sardine. It's like Qdoba.
Yeah, yeah. So Joker will just follow into the bathhouse and be like, oh, it's like one of those situations. And he'll just, I mean, he's been in the military. He's like, oh, what? Bath time? Okay. So yeah, he'll just stroll on in, undress in a corner, and hop in his bucket.
I'm gonna put a pain in your butt and have you make a dexterity check.
Just the 6 foot
I want to
something
see how
guy.
nimble you can be in fitting in this tub since you are so tall.
Just fit myself in a bucket. All right. You said dexterity or just straight dexterity?
Yeah, I just see how nimble you are.
All
Yeah,
right.
flexible.
Eh,
Okay.
15.
Yeah, that does it.
It's
So
not
you're able
comfortable,
to.
but
No, you are not comfortable by any means. You are sitting so that your one foot is kind of hanging over the edge of the tub and the other one's in the tub and you're very scrunched up. But you managed to make it work. Managed to make that work.
he's not there for comfort. He's just like wash, 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 wash. Or quick and efficient.
Now 8. While you're standing out in the courtyard, you see a door open on your left, and out come a couple people in white robes, and their faces are completely obscured. And they stop and they look at you, and the shorter one walks towards you.
Hello.
Are you waiting for someone?
I'm waiting, but I don't know why.
Do you need assistance?
Actually, yes, I do. I furrow my eyebrows and kind of lean in. Can you help me?
That depends on what you need.
I reach into the satchel on my hip and rustle around a little bit, still staring at this person in the white robes, and I pull out my maintenance kit and I hold it out in one hand and I say, would you help me clean the grime out from between my plates?
They put their hand to where their mouth would be, and you hear a gentle, why don't you follow me? And she, or rather I should say they, go past you in the courtyard and head towards another door on the other wall.
I hope there's someone who can help me back behind that door, and I'll just follow behind them.
When you get in there, you'll notice that there are 2 tubs set up, and they point to one of the tubs. If you sit in one of these, we can do an oil cleanse, or we can find a way to take the grime from your crevices.
That sounds particularly helpful. And I'll just kind of take off my wrappings and other cloth trappings and squat down in the tub. Am I doing it right?
You see the person nod, and would you like a oil bath, or do you just want us to reach in with the tools?
Can it be both?
Yes.
Yes.
And she opens up a cupboard and pulls out a bucket of some dark viscous liquid and pours it into the tub, and you see them roll up their sleeves, and they reach out their hands for the tools and begin to work on you as well.
I do not envy them for this job, I swear.
So after you're all done with your bath, you are led by the people in the white robes into a separate area that is essentially a locker room. There's a couple of benches. There are cupboards with towels and other things, um, brushes and things of that nature. And Sahar pulls out of her satchel a cloth wrapped package, and she says something to one of the people in the white robes. And when that person leaves, she turns to Uriala and she hands you a package. This is your ceremonial garb for the princess's wedding today. Um, if you need assistance, let me know. Otherwise, I will go and make sure it and Jokul are being taken care of.
Thank you so much. And I will give a. I'll give a bow.
Okay. Um,
And is there a place to change in here?
there are some sectioned off
Am I
areas.
getting like are people getting ready like now? Is this
No, it's so like there's some benches and there's some cupboards with like towels and stuff, but then along the walls you can see that areas of the stone have been carved out and there are cloths hanging, kind of like curtains. So some of the stalls are open and you can see inside of them, and others have the curtain drawn closed.
okay? So while she's going to check on everyone, I'll start getting changed.
All right. The package that she gave you is a green dress robe. It is not overly loose, but it is not form-fitting either. The wrists and the hem are trimmed in gold, and the fabric itself is dotted with gold beads and floral threading. That green is a very vibrant, dark, lush green. And you're given simple gold shoes and a translucent scarf that matches that fabric to cover over the top of your head. Jokul, while you're in your own locker room, someone in a white robe comes in bearing a package, and they hand it to you, and they bow, and they leave.
Without saying anything, just like, I've got a package.
Like, here, take it, bye.
Jokel will just kind of be like mid-bath, just be like, got a package. Just
Go package. Okay.
just sit down in this bucket and just be like, all right.
Just sit
What's in the
down in
package?
this bucket. I can't.
I could just picture like this lanky framed elf, like very awkwardly, like, okay, I've managed to wash the left foot. Now I need to shimmy and try to make it so that I can wash the right foot.
I mean, at this point, Jokel's just like, well, I am not resorting to like dumping a bucket on myself and calling myself clean. Good enough. This is probably a step up from any showers he had during his military days. So he's like, yeah,
Probably.
it
I
could be
mean,
worse.
You smell like, clean linen and flowers. So I mean, really.
Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, he'll just put aside his brush and be like, what's in the box? Ooh, package.
are you doing this in the bathhouse, or are you going to do this in the locker room when you're done?
Well, it was handed to him in the bath, so I'm thinking Jokel's not the brightest guy. He's like, maybe
He's just
it's
going to open it
soap.
now.
He's just like, maybe it's soap. Oh, nope, not soap.
So when you open the package, one of the shoes actually falls into the tub.
That sounds about right.
So you you open this package and you see that there are blue robes in there. Again, not that you would know this yet, but similar to Riala's, where there's gold trim at the wrists and the hem. The shoes, one of which is now in the tub with you, are very simple shoes. They're kind of cut off at the ankle. They are simple in the fact that they are not, covered in buckles or anything, but they are decorated in gemstones. And you've been given a black scarf to cover your head and your lower face.
Jokel's just gonna fish the shoe out of the tub and be like, damn, that's the fanciest shoe.
This is where
8.
Riala's laid her affections.
Yep. This is the person she's chosen. I hope you don't regret it. Opens up package and bathtub. First thing that happens, shoe falls into the tub. Well, I'm just gonna wear that anyway. 8. So after your oil bath and you've been scrubbed and cleaned of grime and you could feel your crevices are running much smoother. They don't have the grit and the sand and everything else from your long trip built into them. Another person in white robes comes in with a package and they hand it to you and they bow and then they leave.
What's in the box?
Your robes are set up to look like jogles. Gold trim, wrist, hem. You're given vibrant purple robes, almost like the color of lilac, but a shade darker. And you are also given a black scarf to cover your head.
Is the other person in the white robes in there with me still?
The first person, yes, they're cleaning out the tub.
I turn to them and I take the scarf and I cover my head with it in a fashion like what I think would be an approximation of what I should be doing with it, and I just look at them and say, "Am I doing this right?" I've
You
just
see
kind of
them
like
shake their head.
draped it over and pulled it across my face.
You see them shake their head and they come over and they adjust it so that the edge of the cloth is just where your forehead would be. And then they pin up the rest of it so that the bridge of your nose and your mouth are covered and only your eyes are visible.
Am I doing it right now?
They nod.
You have been most helpful. I'm sorry about the mess I made in the tub.
There is nothing to apologize for. It is my job. Are you going to the princess's wedding?
It would seem so. I don't understand how we managed to get invited, but I suppose I'll be in attendance.
It is not every day that a member of the royal family gets married. And the royal family likes to have all visitors to Isha and all citizens in attendance. It is a tradition.
Right. Yeah, that was mentioned last night. I just forgot. I appreciate your assistance. I should probably wait for my friends back out in the courtyard. Sorry, my best friends out in the courtyard.
So I'm guessing you guys are just gonna get dressed? Or are you gonna wear your normal clothing? I know it's not normally your style, Riala.
Yeah, I think after being given the clothes, I would assume that we'd be heading out soon. So I would get changed.
I imagine also a factor is, did they guess right sizes for us? Because it's like, Jokul
Well, these
isn't
robes are pretty loose fitting. All they would need to know is height, really.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, Jokul's not wide, but he's certainly tall. So maybe it's weird robes on him, but I mean, they're robes.
Now I'm just
For
imagining
you-
his ankles showing under the robes.
Yeah, I was gonna say for Jokul, the only thing is that his ankles would be showing a little bit because while they were able to find you a larger robe, you're still much taller than a lot of the citizens in Isha. So whereas most people, the robes are pretty close to the ground and you just see the toes of the shoes poking out, yours you kind of see your whole foot and a little bit of your ankle.
Scandalous.
Very
Jokul's just
scandalous.
I wonder if I can get away with wearing my boots. You said the shoes are like gem studded. I'm like, how do you wring that out after dropping it in the tub? Or is Jokul just going like that solid thump and then squish, thump, squish? Like,
Oh.
I can totally see him just be like, I tried to wring it out. It is a wet shoe. I'm wearing a wet shoe. Like, it wouldn't phase him in the slightest, but it's be like, why is there a one wet footprint going all across
I
his cape?
wonder, part of me wonders how much of Jokul is Jokul and how much of Jokul is James. And I think
What you mean? You don't separate out your character? I mean, geez.
I mean, Jokel's got an 8 wisdom. I like to think I have maybe slightly higher wisdom, but
Jokul, you do realize that if you wear a wet shoe, you're liable to get blisters.
it'll dry out.
It is hot and arid out here, but try not to irritate your foot. I do not wish to be dealing with bunions later on the trip.
Oh my god. The one where Jokul is suddenly 80.
People besides 80-year-olds can get bunions.
I mean, if
Riala.
nothing else, Jokel would like.
That was out
I
of
mean-
character, thank you.
I know, but I wanted to call you Riala.
Well, thank you. It's a very pretty name.
I mean, depending on how much ankle like skin Jokel's showing, it's like, all right, do I have socks? Do I have anything? No. All right then. I'll just
Horseshoe.
be awkward.
Jokul is doomed to get blisters.
Yeah. Oh well, it's only on one foot. He'll be fine.
Oh my god.
He does ride the horse Jones more often than anything else, so.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
It's like I was like, I can hop on one foot and then ride the horse. I'll be fine.
And yes, I'm wearing my clothes as well.
Okay, so you're all dressed. You all are meeting out in the courtyard, and Sahar leads you back down the alleyway and towards the temple. And now you can see that the whole of the city has come out for this wedding, and people are wearing everything from, dark black robes to bright and vibrant ones, similar to how you all are dressed. Some people are wearing clothes that, while they're not the most well kept, they are at the very least clean. You can definitely tell that this is a big event, and every single person is being welcomed here, from the poorest of the poor to the wealthiest of the wealthy.
I stick my head between Jokul and Riala as we're walking, and I say, how much do you think these clothes cost our friends? I'm worried we're going to owe them a lot.
I already tried asking, but they wouldn't tell me.
I heard. They thought it was rude. And then they winked.
My shoes.
I
apparently
never
have
said
gems
wink.
in them.
My shoes have gems in them.
I had to ask someone how to wear these clothes. I don't understand how they work.
Well, you put them on just fine, it seems.
I had help. I just said I had help.
As you come out into the cavern, Tahar turns and takes one last look at all of you, and Jokul, she adjusts your headscarf a little bit so that more of your face is covered, and she turns to all of you and says, "Now, the ceremony is going to be in Isharan. I shall do my best to translate for you, but unfortunately, some words do not translate properly into common. So you'll have to forgive me if I cannot share everything, but I will do my best."
We greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right. Follow me and try not to get lost in the crowd. And she heads towards the temple, and when you get to the temple and you get inside that grand, ornate, carved entryway, and you see that there are more of those iron chandeliers that were hanging in the entryway into the city. And when you get into the temple proper, you see that in lieu of pews or chairs, there are plush red cushions that are strewn across the tiled floor. and you see swaths of red fabric are hanging from the balconies down to the floor. There are rose petals, or rather, petals that look similar to rose petals. You don't really know if they're roses or not. I mean, we are in a desert after all. But red and gold and white petals are strewn all over the floor. Alcoves dot the walls, and their contents vary from bright pink flowers and decorative vases to objects of shining gold and silver. Some of those objects are even encrusted in gems. Sahar points to a gold cloth that leads from the door up to the altar head, and she says, "Be careful, only the procession may walk there."
I'll nod in acknowledgement.
Makes sense to me. Avoid it. I avoid it. I'm just following closely behind my friends.
Yeah. Just nod and step away from the shiny gold.
Sahar walks around the right side and goes up a few aisles and then just finds a cushion to sit down, and she pats to a few of the cushions nearby. And when the temple has filled and you're surrounded by people, you start to hear a delicate ding 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 of bells, and the crowd goes silent. Music begins to play. You can hear drums and horns. The music is excitable, lively, and joyful. People are turning to look at the end of the aisle, and as you follow their gaze, you see a man with loose golden pants and a red tunic shirt walking toward the altar. A large golden sash is strewn across his chest. The musicians are following him, and behind them is a large animal bearing a collar of gold.
What kind of animal?
Would you like to roll for me to see if you know it?
Well, you tell me what to roll and I will do it because I would love to know what type of animal it is.
I'm thinking in your case it's going to be a straight intelligence check, because you would have potentially read about this creature in your tower.
Not
Could
nature.
Joko potentially roll on this as well? From
If you'd like to, yes.
I assume it's not a farm animal, but still, it's like, what is that thing?
Yeah, not a farm animal.
Not a nature check?
No. In your case, intelligence and Jokel's nature.
Oh,
Well, if you've already rolled intelligence, it's fine.
I rolled a 17.
I also rolled a 17.
All right. 8, you recognize this animal as something that you read about in the myths and legends in your tower. So maybe now you're starting to wonder, was that text really about myths and legends? Or was it a history book? Jokel, surprisingly, you recognize this animal to be one from the plane you two came from. It's called a Zaru. And for all intents and purposes, it looks like a tiger, with the exception of the fact that it has spikes down its spine, so bony spikes, and large saber teeth.
That is
But
most
Jokel, this is
definitely
the
not a
first.
farm animal.
Yeah, but this is something that you at least recognize, which is surprising considering you have yet to have seen any creatures that you recognize from home. So once he gets to the altar and the beast is at his side, you see an older woman come out from a back room, and she's wearing all in black. She's dressed all in black, and only her face is visible. She has that chain tattoo on her chin, like you've seen in other older women throughout Isha. And she stands much shorter than him. Her head is barely reaching his chest. She cries out, "Ale, ale!" And the music stops. Everyone is silent and looking toward the altar. And she starts speaking in Isharan. And Sahar turns to you. She is saying, "Welcome to all to the day when our Princess Fatima is to marry the Grand Prince Karim. We ask that the gods grant peace between our lands and a prosperous union after this day. Again, the musicians begin to play, but this time the music is more melodic and calm, and you can hear the bells again, ting-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-ling. And when the princess draws near and she comes into view, you can see that she's wearing layers of red and gold fabric. Her arms are bare to just below her shoulder, and her collar is high, and it actually fans out behind her head. She has gold thread intertwined in her black hair, which is tied up in a collection of complicated braids, and it's dripping with diamonds and rubies. Her eyes are rimmed in kohl, and her lips are painted a bright red. When she reaches the altar, the man kneels at her side. They're both facing the old woman. And for all intents and purposes, throughout the ceremony, he stays in this position while she stands. Again, the old woman begins to speak, but Sahar doesn't translate until she's done. She just prayed to the gods for health and prosperity for the couple. And she has instructed them about their unity task. In your country, do the couples, do they make a, do they have to perform anything to signify the unity of the marriage?
Sort of. Um, Back where I'm from, I don't know how to explain it. After saying vows and making promises to each other, there is a glass of wine, and it's supposed to represent the blood of two families coming together, and each takes a sip of that. And it's a wine that only is from my home country.
Well, that actually sounds very nice.
It's metaphorical blood, yes?
Of course, it's wine.
Yes, you did say that, didn't you?
I did.
Of course you did.
That actually might be nice compared to what they are about to do. Unfortunately, we do not drink wine here. Could perhaps it be a fruit juice instead?
I think so. Yeah, wine is just fermented to make it alcoholic, but yeah, that would work. I actually think they might do that back home because one of the families back home, the prince couldn't drink wine, so I think they did um, just a simple juice instead to accommodate him.
I think I would like to see that someday. Something different, something not what we are used to.
What do they do here?
She smiles and points up to the altar. It looks like the elder is done giving them instructions, so you shall see shortly. And you see that while you and Sihar have been talking, the woman has given the pair a very large, flat silver bowl, which they are now facing each other, him still kneeling, her still standing, and they each have their hands on the bowl so that they are grasping it. And Into it, she pours 2 liquids. One comes out red and one comes out clear from silver decanters. She then places her hands over the bowl, palm side down, and sings out loudly in Isharan. The object of this task is for the man to stand and the bear must work together to keep the liquid from spilling out the bowl. You cannot see from here, but the liquid is at the edge. Legend has it if they can work together to keep the bowl steady and full, their lives will be happy ones. Sahar has this look on her face and she turns to you and says, I was not expecting her to speak in common. The elders generally do not like to speak anything other than Isharan at such esteemed ceremonies, but perhaps they knew that we had some visitors from the outside. You watch as the groom stands, his movements slow and steady, almost fluid. Their eyes remain locked on the other, and you can see that the princess's smile is wide. Once he's standing completely, they walk the bowl to a table sitting nearby on the altar. They release their hands and they back away. The old woman examines the bowl, and when she nods, everyone around you erupts in cheers and laughter. And the princess and the prince walk back down the altar, her arm woven into his. Tahar turns to you with a wide grin on her face. And now we celebrate. Sahar leads you, along with the rest of the crowd, towards a large room in the back of the temple. The musicians are set up in the corner, and they're playing very similar music to what they played at the beginning of the ceremony, where it's very, very raucous and very joyful and excitable. Sahar points to some of the tables. There are several of them, very long wooden tables low to the ground. Again, more red cushions set up along each side. And she points and says, any table you would like to sit at, you may. And I hope you enjoy yourselves.
I'll give a polite bow. And what's going on in the room? What are people doing?
All right. So, like I said, the music's playing. There are tables laid out, and some people have already taken up seats at those tables. Strewn at the table are various platters filled with fruits and cheese and bread. There's aromatic rice heaped high in bowls and pitted dates. More of that roasted goat like what you had the night before, and some sort of stew, potentially mutton. Again, no alcohol, but they're serving either water that's been muddled with fruit or milk that is spiced with cinnamon. There are people dancing up near the musicians where there's a big, vast open space. There are people talking and they're laughing, and you notice that the prince and the princess are not seated on a dais, nor are they sequestered away from people. In fact, they're sitting among the crowd. He's with one group of people and she is with another. And they're talking and they're laughing with people of all statures. And every once in a while, you'll see them get up and go to a new table and they'll talk to new people. And they're actually making the rounds and getting to know their subjects and thanking them for attending the wedding.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, I guess we
There-
go sit.
Okay.
When Sahar said, you may sit wherever you want, is there room at their table?
With Sahar and her family, yes, there is.
Yeah, I think we would sit with them.
Yeah,
Okay.
it would be after they've put up with us this long. It would be rude to be like, "Bye, we're gonna go get to know somebody else."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might as
Okay.
well continue hanging out with them.
Yeah,
Okay.
we like them. We'll hang out with them. Also, we know
So,
them.
yeah, it's like one of those, I've been invited to a wedding where I know one person. I'm going to cling to this one person that I know. All right. So you're able to enjoy a nice dinner. Nothing as formal as last night with any prayers or anything like that. It's just a very joyful event. People are laughing and they're cheering. At one point, Abal, Sehar's father or uncle, um, no, father. Yeah, sorry, I'm having a moment. Abal, Sehar's father, stands up and begins to sing in Isharan, and it's got a very folk songy tune to it. And there are no there's no discussion going on when he does this. Everyone falls silent to listen, and every once in a while you'll actually hear some people are starting to hum along with him, but other than that it's a cappella, and it's very clear and resonating in the stone hall. When he is done and people have applauded, he turns to you, Jokul, and he says, "So, Jokul, I wanted to ask you yesterday, but you were tired after your long journey, and rightly so. How would you like a contest of strength?"
Joker would like look very surprised at first, but he's not one to turn down a challenge either. He's like, "Oh no, I'm going to get my ass kicked in front of 100 people."
But I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it with style.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, "Well, I'm not one to turn down fun, so
Fun quotes.
he'll dust off his hands or put down whatever he had in front of him and be like, I would be open to such a challenge."
Perfect.
So,
Okay.
never mind, I lied.
You're gonna do like just the pat on the shoulder kind of thing and be like, "You can do this."
yeah. I'll still give him I'll take his hand and give it a squeeze and send him off.
The Joker will just
Alright.
be like, I'll try not to make that big of a fool of myself.
She'll kiss his hand and be like, "I'm sure you won't. You'll be fine."
Meanwhile, he's still walking around in a squishy shoe.
Oh. Men.
All right. So Abal clears the table in front of you, Jokul. Just shifts some platters around. And you see him rolling up his sleeves. And like you, and you all notice this, that the women just have a headscarf to cover the top of their head and their hair, but the men have their heads and their lower faces covered. He takes the veil away from his face, pulls down the headscarf a little bit, shifts his neck, kind of like as if you're cracking the muscles of your neck, and puts his right elbow on the table, and he looks at you and says, "Ready for your challenge?" And he's got his arm stretched out, waiting to arm wrestle you, Jokul.
I assume arm wrestling is universal, so regardless
Yeah,
of
that's the assumption we're going off of.
yeah, I mean, what else game? I mean, dice, cards, arm wrestling. Those seem like very standard military activities during downtime. So I can't see Jokel not understanding. Oh, we're doing that one, are we? Shit, I'm gonna lose. But yeah, he'll accept the challenge and just sit. He'll basically mirror his actions and just be like, "All right, headscarf off, mouth veil down, sit down across from him, and just arm wrestle."
As you are getting into position, you notice that there are people that are starting to surround the table. And there's murmurings and there's pointing and elbow jabs like, "Oh, check out the foreigner. He's going to take on a ball." And,
I assume most of the population is human.
yes.
Like an elf is a rarity from what I've just seen of the population.
Yeah. I mean, this place really only recently started taking on what you could call tourists. So it's not like they're not familiar with other races, but it's not very common as of yet.
Okay, so I'm getting multiple stares for challenge, look an elf, and what the heck is that?
Yeah, let's see if you can do this kind of thing.
I have no confidence in this.
Oh no! I'm so
All right.
sad I don't have guidance.
All right, this would be what, an athletics to arm wrestle the guy?
I'm actually gonna have you do a strength check.
Sweat.
We're gonna make this a contest, Jokul.
It's
You
like,
roll first, and then I will roll.
I was gonna say, I'm like, at least athletics, I'd have a chance.
Nope.
Straight strength, I'm going down.
It's over.
Oh well, the dice said no. I saw the 2 come up, and I was like, no.
You
Oh, was it a 2?
No, it was an 18.
No,
It was an
you got
18,
an 18.
and a 2.
Oh. Oh
as
my
you
god.
clasp his hand and you feel this man's grip encase your own, you can see his thick arm corded with muscle. You start to arm wrestle, and his elbow slips, and you immediately win.
Oh my
He
god.
shifts his shoulder and replaces his arm on the table. He says, I want to try again. Jokul.
Jokel's very humble and just, of course. I saw your elbow slip. That wasn't a fair match. Come again. If nothing else, I'm like, I want to have Jokel be so overconfident. Can he be intimidating?
Sure.
Get us kicked out.
Like, he's not like yelling at the man, but it's just that steady, like steadfast confidence that's like, yeah, I got this.
Oh god, I'm sweating so much.
You know what? He doesn't really feel like you're giving, like, he doesn't feel intimidated. Let's just put it that way. He just sees you as like, all right, you're tall, you won by a lucky shot. Let's
I
try this
imagine
again.
the man's easily like double Jokel's width. If he's
Yeah.
a big brawny guy, it's just like,
Oh yeah.
like I imagine Jokel can't weigh more than 175 pounds. So this guy's gotta be at least 100 pounds on him if he's a big brawny guy.
Yeah, he's a probably like more like 30 pounds over Jokel's weight, but the difference is that this man is a lot shorter and therefore stockier,
Yeah.
lower center of gravity.
Well, that will probably help him win out. So all right, I'll roll again.
Ooh.
There goes the dice.
Right. Well, let's see if I can do better.
Hey, you rolled a 4 last time. Oh, no,
I got
there
a 16. It doesn't take long before your wrist is slamming into the table, and you can hear people cheering around you and clapping, and Abal is raising up his fists like, yeah, cheer for me, I won. And he looks at you and says, best 2 out of 3.
Sounds like a fair assessment. And Joker will just switch arms just to be like, aha.
Like, Joko's been using his left arm this whole time.
Yeah,
Or
I
his
mean,
right.
it's not. Joker's like a stringy elf. It's not going to make a difference, but it could throw off him. So he's like, aha.
All right, 6.
This went downhill fast.
Oh, I got a 3. All right. Jokel wins the battle. And as you slam his wrist to the table, Abal just has this look of shock on his face, like, I can't believe the wiry elf beat me. But he reaches out his right hand across the table. Good game, Jokel.
Jokel accepts.
I have
and
more
turns his-
strength than I anticipated.
Jokel's kind of laughing internally, like, no, I don't.
He's like looking at the table, like, is it wet? Like, how did I do that?
Yeah. I mean, Jokel's nimble, so it's like maybe if I just shift my elbow really quickly, that will throw things off. But he's got no muscle. Like he's average. He's got a 10 strength. So
Oh my
he's,
god.
yeah.
Shut up. How much strength?
Jokel's only got a 10 strength. I think
Riala
Riala's
has
technically
12.
stronger. Like Riala had a 14 or a 12, I think.
Yeah, she's 12.
Yeah. Riala's stronger than Jokel.
Oh my
So's
God.
8.
In more ways than one.
Yes.
Oh
But
my
yeah,
God, I'm
Jokel's
dying.
Jokel's very
Nimble.
respectful of his win. Just be like, it was a good challenge. We both had some fumbles there. It's been a long time since I've had the pleasure of arm wrestling somebody. Thank you for the memories.
Very much I did not mean to offend you. I am sorry. Were you just supposed to win? I don't know what happened. Oh my God.
Paul takes a cup from the table. Wasn't his, but he's taking it anyway. And he raises it to the crowd and he says, "To our new friends, Riala, Jokul, and 8. May their lives be prosperous and successful." And he raises the glass and the people around you cheer.
Yay! I
Briella
smile.
shrinks.
You're getting a compliment and you're shrinking. I love it.
Jokel doesn't have the option to shrink. Like, he's probably above everybody's head. Like, well, whatever.
Even if I wanted to, I couldn't.
Yeah, just like, I am a very pasty elf in a very tan room. I still have like a sore thumb. Whatever.
Which, considering how much darker Jokel's skin is, it's still a funny comment.
Yeah.
All right.
Jokel's got the weird skin tone going on. Just like, I don't know what color I'm supposed to be.
It's all shades of gray.
A young girl comes up to you, Riala, and she tugs on the hem at your wrist. Do and she blushes a little bit and tilts her face down, and then she looks back up at you and
She has my full attention. I'm turned to her. My hands are folded politely in my lap, and I'm waiting patiently. Yeah.
Do you sing? Would you sing with me for the princess?
I don't know. I'm not terrible at it, but I'm also not very good. But yes, I would be more than happy to help you.
She claps her hands a little bit and then she grabs your robe and she starts tugging you towards the other table where Prince Karim and Princess Fatima are sitting.
I shoot Jokel a panicked look before I'm dragged away. It's too late. She was so tiny and cute, I couldn't say no. And now
I couldn't say no.
Jokel will just kind of like watch. And like, she just got abducted by a small child. Well, if she can't defend herself from a small child, it's going to be hilarious. And he'll just kind of follow.
Sit back and watch.
Yeah, like he doesn't know what you agreed to, but just on off chance that you need support, he'll follow it like 5 feet behind. Like, I'll be right back.
As you near the table where the prince and the princess are sitting, you see that the musicians are starting to creep closer to you too.
Oh God, oh yeah, yep.
And the little girl turns to you at the very last second and says, "Do you know the seafaring stranger?"
Do I know the seafaring stranger? That's a no. Do I? Probably
no.
don't even
I will not even make you roll for this, but this is not a song title that you recognize.
It doesn't sound familiar to me. Maybe you can show me how it goes, and I'll chime in.
She looks at you.
Offer to hum.
She says, "Well, I know sometimes I don't know a song title. or I don't know songs when I hear the name, but then somebody sings and I know it. Um, there once was a seafaring stranger who went across the sea on his boat. Do you know that one? And
I-
Riala, I am gonna have you make a intelligence check to check your memory for this.
oh God. Oh, sweat.
The,
Sweat, sweat. Okay.
the
Okay,
little
okay.
girl is a bard, and she's just like Jedi mind
Intelligence.
tricking you. Make an
Yeah.
intelligence save. You're being Jedi mind tricked into knowing a song.
Oh, I can't. What am I doing? 15.
You recognize that song not as the seafaring stranger, but as the song of the pirate king Marcus. And it actually is a song that's really probably not appropriate for a wedding, but it does have a really jaunty tune.
Oh, I actually, I do recognize that one, but
I'll help you if I can.
Yay! And she drags you even closer to the prince and the princess, and she starts singing.
I'm humming.
There once was a seafaring stranger. So make a performance check for me.
Oh no, balls. Oh, that's not good. That's not gonna be good. That is a +0. That is a straight D20. Oh God.
I mean, Jokel won an arm wrestling contest with the same bonus. You can do it.
That's a 10.
I mean, it's not bad.
Believe it or not, you actually make it
Oh my God, how?
because you
won't
are
look a
humming.
good-
Because
Yeah.
you are humming, it's a lot easier to hide that you don't know a song when you're humming, especially in a loud, echoing chamber of stone. You do make it. You manage to hum enough where the literal girl actually starts getting boisterous and more confident, and she's belting out at the top of her lungs, and she's not very in tune half the time. But she's just happy to have somebody to sing with her. So she doesn't really care. She's just going off and doing her own thing.
Yay,
And
everybody's so
while you're
happy.
humming and being awkward and trying to survive this very visible social experiment, 8. Sahar walks up to you. She taps your shoulder.
Yes.
Are you enjoying yourself?
Yes, I do believe so. Why? Do I look like I'm not? Do I need to smile more? I feel like I need to smile more. I smile.
That creepy 8 smile.
It's a perfectly acceptable 8 smile, but yes.
She smiles back at you and says, I only ask because you have not gone up to dance or to sing, or you just seem so reserved. Is there something on your mind?
No. I guess you can just say I'm very reserved. Would you like to dance with me?
Her smile gets wider. I think that would be fun. Don't you?
Mirroring her energy. Yes, I do.
Wonderful. And she grabs your hand and she drags you to that big open space where people are dancing. Now,
Oh,
the
goodness.
dancing is not exactly coordinated. It's not the big circle dance that you did in Celine, where people were kind of coordinated in that they didn't really go outside of a specific bubble. Here, people are flailing, they are kicking high, they are waving their arms and singing, and their bodies are convulsing and all sorts of maneuvers. Um, she starts to just move in tune with the music, and she waits for you to join.
I start tapping my toes to the music and swaying my arms back and forth as well at the same time as the music. I don't know.
I don't know.
This is some real method acting at
I
8
would like you
right
to
now.
make an acrobatics check for me.
Oh God! Oh, it's an
Tiny
8.
violin. That's so
Uh,
fitting, but so tragic.
right?
That sounds correct.
My
But
favorite
I'm
number.
sorry.
My favorite number is 8. So you start to move with her, but the music is going very fast, a lot faster than you're probably used to hearing.
I pump my arms
Um,
back and forth really fast.
Yeah, pretty much. It's you
Are you
start just
flopping?
pumping and you're going so fast almost that you're actually getting out of tune with the music. You end up bumping into a few people, but they're all
I'm sorry.
generally
I'm
still
sorry.
okay. I mean, it's I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Um, they're not really too bothered. I mean, people do bump into each other. It is a very exuberant dance. So,
I am 8 and I'm bad at dancing. I'm sorry.
it is during this dance that they start to serve coffee. And it's similar to the coffee that Joko and Raleigh you had the night before, where it's spiced with cardamom and cinnamon. And you suddenly hear a very loud crack, and everything stops. Some people look very confused. Others are very wide-eyed in terror. And you can hear from the temple screaming. People that are surrounding you at the reception hall start running towards the temple. And they're pushing past you, and the musicians have all run. The prince and the princess are being dragged away into a back room.
Was the crack like wood, or was the crack like stone, or was
It
there
was
a
very loud stone echoing in the cavern.
ah?
Well, this
I'm
won't
That's
do.
never something.
running back to Jokul.
Okay, you're gonna head back to Jokul,
Jokel's probably hovering nearby.
who thankfully is only hovering 5 feet away.
Yeah,
We all
run-
reconvene.
I run up to him and immediately take his grab his hand.
The walls are beginning to crumble, and dust is falling from the ceiling.
Oh,
That's not good.
we should probably not be here.
The ground begins to shake.
We should definitely not be here.
I second Eight's thoughts there. Let us be going.
All right. Now, where are you going to go? There is a crowd trying to escape the hall back into the temple. The prince and the princess headed through a door in the back. And there are a couple of other doors around.
Do we see Sahar?
Make a perception check to see if you can find her in the chaotic crowd.
I'll do passive 13.
My passive perception. Oh, I thought it was better than that. It's only a 12.
Well, actually, Riala and 8 are able to pick Sahar out of the crowd.
Jokel is not.
Jokel's like looking off in the wrong direction.
He's got
I
dust
think
in his
that's
eye.
her and Rial and 8 are like, no, she's over there. You do see her. She is being dragged by her family, and she's in the midst of the crowd.
Do you think we should follow them, or we should probably follow the rest of the crowd? Should we follow the rest of the crowd? I don't think they'd let us follow the prince and the princess.
I think following Zahar might be the smartest choice. I don't know what's happening.
Considering we are in a cavern, I assume a cavern is falling. So that way. And we owe it to Zahar and his family that if we got to make a mass exodus, we got to return the favor and help them out. So
Agreed.
Yeah. So follow
Alright.
after the crowd and after Sahar and their family.
Are you walking, running? Hopping, skipping,
Running.
jumping. You're running.
Running
Alright,
sounds good.
Anyone who is running, please make an acrobatics check for me. The ground is shaking, and it's difficult to run on.
I love these straight
Oh
1d20
no, I rolled a
rolls.
2.
Oh,
I rolled a 6.
I'd much rather have an 8.
There it is. I rolled a 6. I was waiting for it. The other
Oh.
shoe just fucking dropped.
Jokul is the only one that manages to keep his footing. Riala, you and 8 both stumble. You're not knocked down flat on the ground, but you do stumble enough where your knees hit the floor, and it takes you a second to get back up, especially since there are people still running by you.
We might as well have just walked.
I mean, Jokel's obviously like skids to a stop, helps Riala back up, and goes. And
I see how it is.
You outweigh Jokel. Like he can grab onto your arm and just go, Oh. Like you are the anchor of this group, more or less.
The tank.
Yeah.
All right. So you're running, and eventually the ground does stop, and you're able to get a really good running start and head towards the crowd. By the time that the ground has stopped shaking, most of the people have made it into the temple proper. And you can see ahead of you that people are now trying to escape into the main cavern.
Is
All
the
right.
temple shaking like crazy?
Yeah, the walls all around you, the sandstone walls are crumbling. There are chunks that are, like, at the first, small chunks that are falling, almost as if, like, if you could picture sand being poured through the ceiling, that's what it's doing right now.
Probably keep running.
All right, so you're gonna keep running. The ground has stopped shaking, so you guys are good for a little while. You get out into the main cavern, and you see that the whole mass of people, almost the entire city of Isha, is headed towards the main entrance. And you see now that there are chunks of rock, large chunks of rock that are on the floor. People are dodging around that rock just to run and be able to make it down the cavernway. And when you look up, that hole that was in the ceiling isn't there anymore. You see straight cavern ceiling and a large crack from one end of the city to the other.
Oh dear.
Oh. Oh no.
We should probably get Bessie and escape.
We can't just leave all these people here, though.
Well, I mean,
We can't save them all, but we have to save some.
Agreed.
yeah, but if we get crushed, then we can't save anybody, and all the children will be gone forever.
And so will these people if we don't do anything.
But
I don't know about you, but my skills do not pertain to fixing a cavern.
and apparently these walls were just going to collapse regardless of whether we were here or not, so we can still save the children. This is going to happen regardless of what we do.
So we just pick up and leave and don't even try?
Save those we can and make for safety.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but
We
Bessie,
have to at least save some.
Bessie first.
Bessie's on the other side of the city. We need to try and save the people that are running.
They're making good time, right?
They are all headed towards the entrance, which is where Bessie and Maeve are.
Yeah, I mean,
as
They're all
we're-
trying to escape.
As we're walking towards or running towards the exit, if I see any what is around? Is everyone in the city at this wedding?
That you could tell, yeah.
Okay.
There are a few people that are leaving some of the buildings, like, around you. Like, in fact, why don't you, Riala, make a perception check for me?
God, perception be better, please. All right,
at this
hold on.
point, running for the entrance and just helping along any stragglers. Like, if grandma trips, pick up grandma, run a
Yep.
few feet till Grandma can run on her own again.
Oh, I didn't even do that right. Yeah, there we go. That's a 12.
That's still good enough. All right. So you do notice that the people that weren't at this wedding seem to be some of the much older group of people. You've got very ancient looking men and women struggling to walk, being led by some people of the more younger generations, possibly medical assistants. Um, and you also see Aquila standing at the entryway of the house where you spent your night, gripping her very pregnant belly and looking terrified.
I want to help her out.
Yeah, I mean, we owe it to this guy's family for putting up with us. We head towards her,
Okay.
and it doesn't say I can't. So if shit gets really hairy, run over, apologize, be like, apologize, pick you up, and just run for the entrance.
I'm going to be
That
probably
I
crossing
can't.
some cultural border, but I'm going to just do it anyway.
But my thought was, if it starts to get really bad, Riala's seen Jokel do his racial thing, but if he'll give Riala a heads up, just, oh, I'm jumping ahead, and then like if the cavern's coming down and Jokel has a clean line of sight, he's going to use his blessing of the Raven Queen to jump ahead,
Okay.
like as far as he can.
Make a strength check for me to see if you can even pick her up.
Oh,
Yeah,
boy.
that's a good point.
Oh, I don't like the sound of that.
With your 5, you are not able to pick her up. You try, but
oh god.
she doesn't budge very easy, and in fact, she actually slaps you a little bit on your face.
Oh.
Because she doesn't know what you're trying to do. You just come up and you like went low on her body, and she's like,
Oh, no. He would. This is my failure. I should have said, I think the cavern's coming down. We gotta go. And he would have like declared his action, not just run up and gone, ha. Like he knows better.
Gotcha, bitch.
She still gives you a little smack, just because narratively it's funnier.
True. But I mean, he'll accept the smack and be like, come on, yeah. Like he'll try and herd her along. Like, we gotta go.
I want everybody to make an acrobatics check for me.
Acrobatics again.
19.
Uh-oh.
That's an 8. Fuck, I am
The
rolling
best
Say
number.
no.
straight garbage.
All right, so 8, you manage to dodge out of the way of a large piece of rock that comes crashing down from the ceiling. Joko and Riala, you are running and you're looking around and you're trying to get Aquila to move as fast as she can. You don't get hit by a rock, but you do run into one because you aren't able to see it and move around it in time. So
I feel like
want
that's more insulting to run into a rock than get hit by a rock.
Yeah,
I'd rather get hit by the rock.
I want each of you to take a point of damage.
I'm good with that.
I'm good at that.
I think it's more embarrassing to run face first into a rock that has already fallen than to get hit one by one falling from the ceiling. Like, ow.
So you keep running, and you're now close to where the crowd was. I mean, the entrance is only so big, and there's a ton of people that need to get out. So now you're at a bottleneck. As you're trying to help people not trip and fall and get trampled, I want you all to make one last check for me tonight. I want you to roll perception.
One last roll tonight? Perception?
Mm-hmm.
I don't like this.
18.
I don't like this at all.
I don't like this at all.
I have a feeling where this is going, but I don't want to acknowledge it yet.
11.
I'm just
Fuck, my
gonna
rolls are garbage.
take the passive again,
You're gonna take
because
passive.
I feel
Right.
like 13's a good number.
Oh, well,
Um,
I guess 12 wouldn't be much different, so fuck me, I guess.
Jokul, you are the only one that hears it.
Oh, good fuck.
But up ahead, you hear the clash of steel. And that is where we are calling the session tonight.
Oh,
Dun.
God.
Ah, that cliffhanger.
What the shit?
Beautiful cliffhanger.
Oh. I'm so offended.
You're always offended when I end the session.
Well, there'll need to be something we print on a shirt. Just, I'm offended.
Because the DM ended the session.
Cliffhangers offend me.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Roads Uncharted. In the next one, we'll see just what unfolds in the chaos of the collapsing cavern in Isha. If you like what you hear, and you're curious to see what unfolds as we continue our adventure, please be sure to check us out on Twitter at Roads Uncharted, and continue to come back to our YouTube channel to see what uploads we have in the future.